cinematographer of international stature. So, welcome, Rupesh da. And
Thank you so much,
yeah, over to
Mukesh
you.
ji.
Over
Thank
to
you so
you.
much.
There are four students, so please आप अपना ज्ञान share करिए उनके साथ. Thank you.
Well, more than sharing my gyan, first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Mukesh. And I am really thankful to Cinema Satsang, which is involved in a great mission towards, training and teaching youngster and giving a platform to youngster to learn online filmmaking. So, which is really commendable. My greetings to you, Mukesh. Thank you so much. And welcome each and everyone, all of you. Thank you all for joining in this free webinar. So let's make sense out of it for next half an hour, 1 hour, whatever time we can be engaged to each other. So as Mukesh ji rightly said, that more than one way traffic or just me sharing my gyan, it will be really great if we can connect to each other and you all can ask your queries, and probably I will try my level best, to answer your questions or give some idea about how to achieve cinematic composition in filmmaking through cameras. So that will be really nice. Um, so should I start a basic concept, Mukesh, or should we how to break in? Hello, Mukesh, are you there?
My bad. Very sorry. So you can start off with your webinar, which is on competition,
Yep.
and the first part of the webinar, and then you can take in questions and answers, or if they have any questions in the middle also, then you can take.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'll do that. But before that, I mean, just for my own understanding and to know whom I am talking to, will it be good? How is it if
Yeah.
all of
You all can
you
introduce yourselves. You all can
introduce
introduce
yourself?
yourselves. Ashish,
Yeah,
Tanmay, Achint, and Shubhayan. What are you
little bit.
studying? What do you do? And yeah.
Then it'll give me a little idea about their base, so that then I can start
Sure,
building up
sure,
from
sure.
there. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Just
and
say two
there are
lines about yourself. Yeah.
exactly, and there are not many students attending, so it'll take only 5 minutes, to
Yeah.
introduce
Sure.
yourself. So please do that one by one.
Hello, sir. I am Ashish Patnaik from Odisha, Bhubaneswar. So currently, I am pursuing my BTech in Computer Science Engineering from KIT University.
All right. Next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tanmoy Ghosh. I'm from Delhi, born and brought up in Delhi, and I finished my graduation last year. And this year, I mean, now I want to pursue cinematography. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Can I speak next?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I'm Shubhayan. I'm from Kolkata, and I'm currently studying mass comm and videography from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. And I am very interested in filmmaking, and that's why I want to go.
Super. Anyone left?
Yes, yes. Hi, sir. My name is Achint, and I'm from Delhi and an aspiring filmmaker. Just joined the session to learn more about cinematography and how I can, use your, guidance in making my own independent film. So, yeah, that's why.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There are only 4 students, right? We are done with it. So I'll try my level best, to give you a basic concept about cinematic composition. So as it is, there are 2 words, cinematic and composition. So to understand what is cinematic composition, we have to, segregate and understand these 2 words separately first. So what is cinematic look? First, we need to understand, because whenever we pick up any camera and point it towards our subject or object, it is going to get, composed inside a frame. That's how we start shooting or recording. So by default, if you point your camera towards any scenario, it will start showing you a limited area within the frame, right? So how to make it look cinematic? The cinematic is basically what is it relates to cinema, and cinema is nothing but the visual storytelling, right? Storytelling through visuals. So first and foremost, there should be a story within the frame. Even if it's a single shot or a still image, it has to have a story. There has to be some kind of narrative attached to it, on screen and off screen, because what is there within the frame and what is there off screen, outside the frame, it should have all combined together and give a fair idea to the audience or viewer who is watching your composition, that there is some sense of story, what is happening within the frame. So that makes it uh, attached to cinematic, because cinema, as I said, it is a visual storytelling medium. Then comes the second word is composition. So composition, we all know that it is kind of an arrangement of elements within a rectangle frame. Now that rectangle can be the different kind of relation in terms of vertical and horizontal line. That is what is called aspect ratio. I'm sure you all of you must have heard this word called aspect ratio. So aspect ratio is nothing but the width and the height of any particular frame. We'll learn more in detail about different aspect ratios and their applications once we start learning about cinematography and join cinematography course. But now, just a basic knowledge about aspect ratio is it's a kind of a boundary of the frame, right? It could vary from 4:3 to 16:9 to 1:2.39 and widescreen, and a lot of different kind of aspect ratios are there. But one thing is common, that whatever elements you are going to put within that aspect ratio is going to make a kind of a certain kind of a composition. So composition word relates to music, also relates to still photography also, and relates to cinematography also, right? So composition is nothing but the artistic aesthetical arrangement of elements within the frame, right? Now there are a few concepts, like what do we keep in mind while arranging your objects, and what are those objects which we need to arrange within the frame, right? So I'm going to show you a PPT also. If you can allow me, give me permission to present, then I'll share one of the PPT where I can visually give references, to understand in a better way. So whoever moderator, please allow me to share a PPT. Um, can I?
I think you can. I'm the host, so uh, yeah, you can.
All right. So
Mission is already there.
all right. So before that, as I said, that as we understood these two words, cinematic and composition. So composition is again divided into now 2-3 factors. So working with the format. If we are mostly we work in 2D, two-dimensional composition. Unless we are shooting a 3D film or a VR film, which is the latest technology. So the composition for VR is something which even I'm trying to understand how to achieve good composition in virtual reality frames. But 2D and 3D compositions are more or less same, because the width and the height of the frame is same and fixed. So you are going to place your elements in that, and there are three basic field. One is foreground, midground, and background. In in 3D, you are going to see calculated gap or the depth between foreground, midground, and the background. But in two-dimensional compositions, you are not going to have the sense of the depth or the distance between foreground, midground, or the background. So cinematographers try to, achieve that virtual sense of depth or gap between foreground, midground, and background. So essentially, you can take a note also. Like there are three fields: foreground, midground, and background. And now you have your object, subject, and background. Right. So obviously, background could be anything depending on how much do you want to show, how much area of any particular backdrop should be there as part of your composition, right? And then you place your main subject, prime subject, no? So generally that falls as a midground. And if there is anything which is in the first, comes as a first layer of composition, that is known as a foreground. So now it's up to you whether you want to keep your prime subject in foreground, midground, or background, you know. But that's your choice. But it should be having certain kind of a storytelling or relation between the background, or sometimes something which is off screen, which is not seen in that particular shot. But after looking at the composition, you would know, the audience would know that there is something outside the screen which is related to this composition. So this is a very basic framework of working with composition, or let's say cinematic composition, right? Now there are few very basic rule.
Dada,
Like
Rupesh da,
Hanji,
can I ask them something? One thing I want to ask them.
please do.
Do you all know what is foreground, middle ground, and background, as Dada said right now?
Yes, sir.
All of you know that foreground,
I
middle ground, and background.
I assume
क्या
they should
होता
be
है
knowing.
पता है आप लोगों को? श्योर? नहीं तो आप पूछ सकते हैं, अगर बीच में आपको
हाँ
कुछ
जी,
पूछना हो, आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आए, तो आप हाथ उठा के आप पूछ सकते हैं क्वेश्चन,
हाँ
ठीक
जी,
है? आपके ये
आप
लिए है, सीखने के लिए, है ना?
इंटरैक्टिव बना सकते हो इसको, और या मुझे किसी भी चीज को जो मैं एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ, अगर आपको ऐसा लगे कि वो क्लैरिटी नहीं मिल रही है, तो एज मुकेश सर इज सेइंग, आप मुझे इंटरप्ट करो, आप कन्वर्स करो, आप क्वेश्चन करो, तो इट विल बी मोर इन्वॉल्विंग एंड एंगेजिंग इन दैट सेंस. थैंक यू मुकेश for this. So as I was saying, is there any doubt about whatever I said till now? Foreground, midground, background. How do you understand?
So like background is the background of the image. If we divide the image into three parts, then the foreground is which is above the subject, like what is behind the subject, that's the background. Then what is ahead of the subject, that is foreground, and the subject is the middle ground, we can say.
Very well said. Yes, thank you so much. So that's what exactly I was also talking about. But here one catch is that your main subject sometimes could be not always midground. It could be foreground or background also, But that relates to the fourth wall, what we call something which is off screen or next shot, because in still photography, composition is very basic because it does not connect to next shot. It is a very independent composition. But in cinema, every shot is not independent. It is related to the next shot or the previous shot, always, because it comes in terms of, it's a kind of a montage of shots, filmmaking. So a series of shots, different kind of magnifications, different kind of composition, and connected to each other somehow. So here we are learning about cinematic composition. So before that, I'll show you a little bit of still photography's composition, because the basic comes from there. And the very first thing is the rule of third. So this is a kind of a thumb rule for composition, rule of third. So I'll just show you PPT, which will help you to understand what is rule of third. Yeah, and then we'll further talk about. Give me one moment, please. I'm getting a message that host disabled participants to share screen sharing. Mukesh, you just check whether I think I'm not permitted to share.
Screen share, one participant at a time. Okay, maybe wait just a second. I'm making you host so that you can share. Now you are the host. Hello?
Yes, I'm trying.
You you are the host, so I think now you'll be able to share.
Sure. Yes, I can. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Is this PPT showing, appearing?
Yeah. Yeah. Rule of thirds.
Yes. So, I'll continue. So as you are seeing here, rule of third, this is nothing but a psychological concept of how our human brain or eyes look at any scenario. So after research, it is found that when we look at any scene or any frame, our eyes do not directly go at the center of the frame. It does not directly focus at the center of the frame. Rather, it drags your attention to either side of the frame little bit, as to understand that what they dissected the frame from two vertical lines and two horizontal lines. And the cross points of those lines are called hot points. And that's where we are supposed to have our attention dragged. So it makes and understood that we should place our prime subject to these hot corners inside a frame. I hope I'm being able to explain it. So as you look at here in this picture, these trees, instead of being placed at the center of the frame, it is placed towards the right side, and which is the cross point of these white lines, which is a um, uh, horizontal and vertical dissection of any frame. So equally division of 3 blocks vertical and 3 blocks horizontal. You must have seen these kind of grid in your DSLR cameras and in film cameras as well. So this kind of a grid system and the joints of these lines are, point of interest. They are called point of interest, and that's where we should try to keep our prime object and subject within the frame. So this is a very basic thumb rule of cinematic not cinematic composition. It comes from the still photography this thing. Yeah. So this is a very basic thing, but this is not the only thing, because sometimes we can place our subject at the center as well. If you do not want to give any attention to any other thing in the frame, because that person portrait or a human close-up which is at the center and directly looking into the lens, then probably there is no concept of rule of third, and we are just basically place that portrait at the center of the frame because that person is directly looking into the camera, then this rule of third does not apply, but when you are shooting something which is related to the next or previous shot or depth or leading line, so these are the things which are under consideration. Then we think about this rule of third in our composition. So don't get confused, because sometimes we follow this, sometimes we don't follow, depending on a lot of other elements within the frame. So which I'll try to explain quickly. Going to the next slide. So if you see here, as I was talking about, the center composition. So if you have a scenario like this picture, first picture on top, where this stair is going upward and railings are from the both sides, then one might get confused that how do I apply rule of third in this kind of composition. So, and it is difficult also because then you will lose out the balance of the frame. So here both sides of the railing is creating a kind of a balance and harmony in the frame. So in this scenario, the rule of third is not applied. The frame is only dissected from the middle, and that becomes your balancing point, and you divide your frame half to left and half to right, and create a kind of a symmetry in that, and in this, the rule of third is not applied. But this is also kind of example of a good composition, depending on the this thing, because this step is taking our eyes, upwards towards that light, which is on the top. So that's called leading line. So our eyes are leaded towards that light through the stairs. So in this kind of situation, if you are shooting, then probably rule of third is not so helpful. But coming down to the next image below, of the tree and the reflection in the water down, you see, it is placed and a rule of third is applied in this. Why? Because it is again creating a balance. Here in the first image, it was vertically divided, the image left and right. But here in the next second image, it is horizontally divided, horizontally divided, and the reflection is creating a balance of the tree and sky, and the reflection in the water is 50% equally divided in that sense, and the tree is placed at the hot points of point of interest of applied through rule of third. So these are little things which you as you interact with your location or the set or the object where you are shooting, then quickly the object or subject will tell you that whether what kind of composition it requires, because what is the core, what is the thing which has to come out through your composition, which is the main thing, what is the story which is going through that composition, and that will tell you that what kind of composition you should apply in your framing, right? So it is very difficult that I'm sitting here and tell you that apply this kind of composition and create balance or apply leading line or rule of third and all that, because that differs and varies from scenario to scenario, right? So and the scene itself will tell you that what to place in the foreground, midground, and background, and how to arrange them in accordance with each other, so that the storytelling is also moving forward, and your image, your framing, your composition has good sense of balance and all these rules applied, because then it becomes grammatically correct, psychologically correct, technically correct, and aesthetically correct, and hence making it look cinematic, making it look as if it is having a professional kind of a look and not a very casual composition. You can easily differentiate between the casual composition and professional composition by these grammars applied or not applied. So that's why it is important, to understand and learn the grammar of the basic and grammar of composition. Because that is the first thing about any visual. How they are placed in a frame, how they are arranged in a frame. That says a lot about a person who is taking that picture or recording that shot also. Whether that person, cinematographer, is learned cinematographer, has that kind of aesthetic sense, that how the way he's composed the shot. Probably a layman may not be able to understand, who is watching that film or that frame, that in terms of these grammatical jargons about like rule of third and scale and balance and symmetry and all that. But it will come across to that person as a soothing and balanced frame without even knowing the grammar. And people who are technically learned, and like people like you who are learning cinematography and filmmaking, or supposed to get admitted and learn from film school like Cinema Satsang or any other film school, then that this learning has to be applied. And then short is
Rupeshda, your voice is gone.
hello, am I audible?
Yeah, now you're.
Okay. So how much lines did I miss? Anyway, let's move forward. Now you see, as we were talking about foreground and background, and there is another word called depth of field. So depth of field is related to focus, because any composition, and it is a basically fault of a camera, that the focus has to be at one plane, unless we shadowify the focus and rake it or shift it to another plane. It is not like human eye, which automatically keeps focusing as our eyeball moves from one subject to another subject. Camera do not have the brain, so the focus does not shift automatically, and the range of focus is also limited, depending on the kind of lens we are working with, or the kind of exposure and aperture and shutter speed and ISO we are working with. So it's a kind of a combination of shutter speed or shutter angle, aperture or iris,